So it looks like the Young Turks are finally growing up. Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and with me is Kimberly McNabb. So per Fox News, the Young Turks co-host, Ana Kasparian, was on Jillian Michaels' podcast, Keeping It Real, last week. And Ana explained what drove her to ditch the Democratic Party. Now, if you're not familiar with the Young Turks, they are a very far-left, progressive organization and media outlet. And they really are pushing the progressive politics. So for her to do this it's pretty amazing.
Well, she will be the second Turk to ditch the Democratic Party. Dave Rubin left quite a while ago.
Right, absolutely. So I guess it's just that adage: as you get older, you need to ditch the Democrat Party and then the far left progressivism. But she saw an embrace of the soft on crime policies by the left, and she believed it was detrimental to society.
Well, yeah, I mean, people behave to incentive structures and deterrences. So if you have zero cash bail, well, okay, you just let me back on the street. Oh, yeah, I learned my lesson. No, I'm going to go get some free stuff and not pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just go outside of far left California, even in Houston, Texas. Now Texas is a red state, but obviously a lot of major metropolitan areas do lean blue. So, but even in Texas, there's a backlog of prosecutions for aggravated assault, for murder, and they're just let back on the street. And people are amazed when they commit crime again. I mean, they were criminals to begin with.
It's like if a teenager breaks curfew and nothing happens, they're going to keep breaking curfew.
Yeah, exactly. But she ripped efforts to demonize and even dehumanize the other side, while admitting she used to be a person who believed could not be friends with conservatives or somebody who supported former President Trump. Both women, again, Jillian Michaels and Kasparian, said that they identified with the disaffected Democrats who now feel unwelcome in their own former party.
Well, God forbid you don't do the goose step, like you got to toe perfectly in line. I mean, why do you think on every major news outlet when Tim Walz started calling J.D. Vance weird, they all said the exact same thing, verbatim.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about this many times on our podcast before, that Elon Musk even said that himself that he was a Democrat and a liberal, but that while his positions have not changed, the progressives in the Democrat Party keep pushing to the left so far that he became a centrist and then became a conservative, not because that he changed his political affiliations, but because the left went so far left that he was left behind.
Relatively speaking, everything got shifted and he stayed in the middle.
And he got left behind. And now he sits on the right side of the spectrum, which is just, it's happened clearly to a number of these Young Turks. But Kasparian said the turning point for her was when she was scolded by liberals after confessing she was fearful to leave her house after being sexually assaulted by a homeless man while walking her dog in Los Angeles in 2022. Now, Kimberly, you have more information on that, right?
Yes. So it was not like someone catcalled her and she was just being, this Karen. No, a homeless person came up behind her while she was leaning over to pick up her dog's crap and started dry humping her.
From behind?
Yes. And so, I mean, if you've ever been assaulted, mugged, and something worse could have happened, then that's all you're thinking about. Like, oh my God, they dry humped me, but they could have torn my clothes off and I didn't have a weapon with me. I didn't have a man near me. Nobody was with me. A lot worse could have happened. And of course, that fear runs through your mind.
Sure.
And, this whole nonsense about these liberal white women being offended on the behalf of someone else. You weren't even there. They're not even talking about you, but yet you're the one offended. And why do they do this? It's for this white savior complex. And it's like, also, how dare you believe your lying eyes? I remember these men on the street clips with Will Witt is one of them. They'll go go around college campuses dressed like supposedly a Mexican, like with a sombrero and like the colorful tunic looking thing, and maybe like a fake black mustache. they'll go up to a Hispanic-looking person and go, "Does this offend you?" And they're like, "No, it's awesome." And then all the white liberal girls are like, "Oh my God, that's so offensive."
Cultural appropriation offends me.
Yeah, they just go off, and the person who supposedly should be offended, you're stealing, cultural appropriation. Is like, "No, that's cool." And then the Asian man with the triangular-looking hat,
right?
They'll go up to a Chinese-looking person and goes, "Does this offend you?" No.
Yeah. In fact, you're wearing it correctly, and it's awesome that we're able to celebrate culture. But anyway, Anna started getting messages that she was painting a picture of the homeless community in a negative light, and honestly, she has a right to her opinion of being sexually assaulted by somebody and being able to describe.
Like, she's the victim here. She was sexually assaulted.
Exactly. And even people even accused her of being a racist, even though she never disclosed the race of the individual who did it to her. And in fact, they were white. So again, so I would say to those progressives that said that she was racist for talking about being sexually assaulted, by the virtue, they must have assumed that was a person of color.
Yeah,
so I would say that you are the racist by automatically assuming it was a person of color, when in fact it was a Caucasian.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's racist of them to assume that they're white. And, Ana Kasparian said, that woke me up. That,
sure.
They have these stereotypes in their heads, and they go around accusing everyone else for being bad, and they're the ones that, quote, need to do the work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Kasparian said she also disagreed with the defeatist mentality shown towards minorities.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in the last year, the only thing really hit her was the difference between her upbringing and what the Democratic Party espouses. And, I couldn't agree more with her. I mean, it is there are two things that the messaging of the Democratic Party does. One, you're a victim. You're a victim. And two, you have to vote Democrat. Right, because we're the only ones that can take care of the victim. We don't want you to complain about anything. We want your vote, but we want you to be the victim, and there's no way out of that cycle.
And the effects of our policies are so bad, we're going to give you free stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, how is anybody supposed to prosper with the victim mentality? Because that kind of strips them of any power. It's like implying you don't have any power.
Right.
No one thrives like that. And guess what? The Democratic Party does not want you to thrive.
No. They want you to be fearful so that you continue to vote their way so they can maintain power.
Yep, and they bribe you by giving away free stuff.
But anyway, Kasparian said, however, we all get to wake up in the morning and make choices for ourselves. And when I hear the Democratic Party consistently disempower people of color, because that's what they're doing, she said. Mm-hmm. They keep using this messaging that infantizes them and makes sure as though that if it weren't for us white saviors messing around with these laws and policies, that they would never be able to survive. And she's nailed it right on the head. That's what the Democratic messaging is.
Yep. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Exactly.
It means you're so infantilized that you're not capable of thinking for yourselves. And I think people need to wake up and go, you know what? I'm my own person. I can think for myself. Thank you,
right,
white man. I can do things for myself because I'm created in God's image, and I have power to do things for myself, and I don't need you.
Right. Well, I mean, Kasparian, she gave examples, just a lot of examples during this podcast, and one was a Los Angeles school district that scrapped its honor student program because there weren't enough Hispanic students enrolled in the program. And, she said that pissed me off. It's doing away with an opportunity to rise to the occasion to help these students to get where we want them to be.
And it discourages the students that do get on the honor roll, that
exactly.
worked hard, and now you're stripping me of a title that I earned, and it's just one of the many processes of creating this mentality in people that want to work hard to go, well, why bother?
Well, yeah, she just goes on to say that this reinforces this defeatist mentality. So instead of instead of scrapping the program, here's something that Los Angeles can chew on. How about you figure out what the cause is of why Hispanics are underperforming?
Well, God forbid they solve a problem.
And lift them into the honors program rather than eliminate it because they couldn't meet the task. The goal, and then the students that were in the honors program, they're have a degradation in their education because they have to now come down. Why don't we lift people up and figure out how to help them get into the honors program? That's a better way to look at it.
Yeah, instead of spending a bunch of money on, gender studies or whatnot, how about we have some ESL classes just designated for those students, get them speaking and reading English well enough, and then have some accelerated programs where they catch those students up to where they should be, and then they can immigrate with the students who are where they're supposed to be, instead of having the slowest student, maybe the person who speaks the least English, down with everyone else.
Now, she said, that we should be celebrating people who want to better themselves and better their lives. And later in the discussion, talked about the fat acceptance movement of the far left as well. She said instead of this effort to basically tell people you're fine the way you are, you don't need to change a thing, even if that is slowly killing you. And I disagree with this. And I know you do too.
Oh, adamantly. I mean, because if you don't address a problem, you'll never solve it.
Right.
And the first part of solving a problem is admitting that you have a problem. And, the whole fat acceptance thing, that they may lead you to think, well, first of all, it's a sound good thing, which they're really big on, but you have to dig at least another layer deeper. And it's not, okay, someone has an extra 5, 10 pounds, whatever. No, I mean, you have Lizzo who has a solid, I think she's lost a little bit of weight recently, but a solid 150 pounds of extra weight on her. That is not good. She can't feel good. Like, her joints must hurt to hell.
Right.
Carrying all that weight. Of course she's not going to want around because it hurts.
Yeah, here's a thing that I would say is a point that being obese is not healthy for your body, right? Now, while you're losing weight in order to improve your health, should you be made fun of? No, I don't think you should be made fun of.
That's discouraging. And they probably have that discouraging voice in their head that they're already having to suppress going on all the time, every day. They don't need an external voice to discourage it.
But they don't also need the voice to say that everything's fine. You can just love your body the way you are. Don't worry about improving it. I think that's disingenuous for the health of the individual. And I think that's the point that she was trying to make.
Well, also, people are creatures of habit. And so if you start a certain mentality in one part of your life, you're likely to carry it on into other parts of your life. So if you're getting in the habit in one part of your life of not solving a problem, may not carry on to other parts of your life as well.
Yeah. And, the two ladies talked about how Governor Newsom is definitely leading the madness in the state of California. Michaels even said that the concern is that it goes from California to a federal problem. And unfortunately, some of the failed policies we're starting to see here, meaning in California, have been exported to other states. And
well, these feel-good lines carry on to other states. People move from the blue states into the red states. And so that's why people are saying, hey, keep Texas, Texas.
Right.
We don't want the way you vote to come here. Like, you want to come here, you want to contribute to the economy, but respect our values. Just like anybody coming from outside the United States needs to respect our values and our way of life. We ask that people from California, New York, Illinois move into Texas and Florida. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're leaving California because of the policies you voted for, have now made that state unbearable and you need to escape. Rather than ruining the state that you go to with those same California voting principles, you need to realize that you made a mistake and now you're going to a state and you want to participate and make sure that it stays the state, the reason why you went there in the first place.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll all eventually run out of places to go to.
Right. But, that's, to your point, like you said, it's also a reason why, illegal immigrants coming across the border, they're usually poor, don't have a support system. They'll have a hard time finding work and housing without government intervention. And obviously that is happening. But immigrants also bring their way of culture and their way of thinking and voting with them. So if some of these people are coming from socialist countries such as Venezuela,
or Sharia law abiding countries.
Because again, this is not just a South American issue. We're having illegal immigrants coming from Asia, from Europe, from South America, from Africa, from the Caribbean. It is not a single group that is coming over. It is a multifaceted, multicultural problem, and that's kind of what is the issue.
Yeah, I would like to just debunk this whole multiculturalism thing that's been preached about for years. Is everyone's like, oh, diversity is our strength and diversity is a good thing. No, diversity of thought's a good thing, and so you can discuss ideas. But think back to the last time so many people speaking so many different languages were together, that an instance that we should all know about, the Tower of Babel. Mm-hmm. Okay, mankind was trying to build up this tall tower and reach the heavens, and they were getting boastful. And so, yes, God, made everyone start speaking different languages, so to get some humility into mankind, but also so they couldn't work together and they couldn't function together. Well, guess what? Now we have all these different languages, like Tim Waltz said in the VP debate. Oh, I have a school that speaks 50 different languages. I'm like, it's hard enough for people to get along, and now they can't speak the same languages. First of all, these kids aren't going to be able to make friends with these other kids. They don't speak the same languages. So how dare you, eliminating possible friendships? And that's just chaos. That's chaos.
How do you get an educator? How do you get an educator
that can speak 50 different languages? You can't do it. And so the class cannot learn because no one can speak the same language. How dare you?
Right.
That's not something to celebrate. And so anyway, this whole multiculturalism thing is people can't work together because they can't understand each other. It's not something to be celebrated. It's chaos.
Right, and I believe she's starting to recognize that. Now, you mentioned Dave Rubin also left the Young Turks. Now, what made him leave?
Well, he wrote in at least one of his books that his views began to change a bit after witnessing progressive commentator and former colleague Cenk Uyghur's criticisms of Fox News commentator David Webb. And he also had a further political awakening after discussing racism in 2017 with the great and wonderful, the black face of white supremacy himself, Larry Elder, the sage of South Central.
Yeah, I mean, it just as we started off, it looks like the Young Turks are now becoming the old Turks, and they're starting to grow up and realize
maybe their young ways will become old ways.
Yeah, exactly. And so we saw this, and it's people see the light all the time. I can't tell you how many YouTube and TikTok stars were leftist and progressive and realized that this was not what they signed up for, and they have gone all the way over to the other side of the spectrum. And so this just Anna is coming over. She's seen the light, and she's left that Democratic Party. So if you like videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video and share it with others. We're a small YouTube channel, and anything that you can do to help us out is just mind-blowing. It's going to be such a value add. It doesn't cost you anything. And so please hit that like button. But thank you so much for tuning into Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.